Brian Dawkins, Weapon X, Heart of a Warrior. From the humid streets of Jacksonville, Florida, to the sacred halls of Canton, Ohio, Brian Dawkins' story is not just one of football excellence. It's a testament to resilience, spiritual devotion, emotional transparency, and inner strength. His journey transcends the realm of sports. It is the odyssey of a man who evolved from a hard-hitting defensive back into a beacon of hope, faith, and healing. Born on October 13, 1973, in Jacksonville's East Side, Brian Patrick Dawkins was raised in a household grounded in discipline, spirituality, and love. His parents, Ralph and Patricia Dawkins, emphasized values that would shape him for life: respect, accountability, humility, and God. Sundays were reserved for church, and the spiritual foundation laid in those early years would prove pivotal during the storms he would later face. At William M. Raines High School, Dawkins excelled in multiple sports: football, basketball, and track. But on the gridiron, he found his true calling. Though not the biggest player on the field, he more than made up for it with intensity, focus, and athleticism. Coaches were struck by his work ethic, while teammates admired his unwavering dedication. His size may have suggested limits, but his spirit didn't recognize them. That relentless drive earned him a scholarship to Clemson University. At Clemson, he rapidly established himself as one of the nation's premier defensive backs. Yet, beneath the accolades and appearances, he silently battled something far more dangerous than any opponent: depression. It wasn't until decades later, in his Hall of Fame speech, that Dawkins would reveal the emotional turmoil he suffered during those formative years, even confessing he once contemplated ending his life. "I was in a dark, dark place," he said. "I had no idea how to cope with what I was feeling." Despite those hidden struggles, Dawkins shone on the field. By the time the 1996 NFL Draft arrived, his name was on every scout's radar. Selected in the second round by the Philadelphia Eagles, he immediately injected the team with energy, leadership, and a defensive tenacity that would become his trademark. Dawkins didn't merely play the safety position, he transformed it. Over 13 electrifying seasons with the Eagles, he became the soul of the franchise. He hit like a linebacker, moved like a cornerback, and led like a quarterback. Fans knew him as Weapon X, a moniker inspired by the Marvel character Wolverine. Dawkins brought that same berserker rage onto the field every Sunday, his game day rituals becoming legendary. Whether it was crawling out of the tunnel like a predator or delivering blood-curdling pregame screams, he played with a fervor that ignited the entire stadium. But he wasn't just a showman. Dawkins backed it up with elite play. A 9-time Pro Bowler and 4-time first-team All-Pro, he recorded over 1,100 tackles, 37 interceptions, and 26 sacks in his career. He was the first player in NFL history to register a sack, interception, fumble recovery, and touchdown catch in the same game. Numbers aside, his true gift was inspiring those around him. Teammates often credit Dawkins for elevating their game, not with orders, but with presence. He was the emotional nucleus of the locker room. Under his leadership, the Eagles reached 4 consecutive NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl berth in 2005. Philadelphia, a city that reveres blue-collar grit, embraced him wholeheartedly. In return, Dawkins gave them everything: his body, his tears, and his unfiltered passion. But after 13 seasons, a painful chapter unfolded. In 2009, the Eagles allowed Dawkins to leave in free agency, and he signed with the Denver Broncos. The move shocked fans and hurt Dawkins deeply. "It felt like being ripped from your family," he later said. Despite the heartbreak, he handled the transition with professionalism and grace. In Denver, even late in his career, Dawkins remained a defensive cornerstone and mentor, helping shape young stars like Von Miller and establishing a culture of accountability. He hung up his cleats in 2012, leaving behind a legacy that would be cemented in gold. In 2018, Dawkins was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a moment that was as emotional as it was historic. During his speech, he broke down barriers by discussing his struggles with mental health and suicidal thoughts. He addressed those listening who might be suffering silently. "There is hope. There is light. Keep fighting." His speech was not just powerful, it was revolutionary. At a time when mental health was still a taboo subject among athletes, especially black men in contact sports, Dawkins' honesty resonated deeply. His vulnerability didn't weaken his image, it strengthened it. Fans, players, and mental health advocates hailed it as a turning point for openness in sports. Dawkins used that momentum to create the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation in 2019. Focused on promoting mental wellness, spiritual development, and educational access for underserved youth. The foundation has since funded hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships and programs. Each year, Dawkins hosts the Impact Weekend, a gathering of athletes, community leaders, and changemakers devoted to service, mentorship, and wellness. In 2025, Dawkins released his second book, Mind, Body, Weapon, The Dawkins Formula, a deeply personal and practical guide for building resilience. The book soared to number 2 on the New York Times Sports hardcover list and solidified his role as a thought leader beyond the field. It followed the success of his first memoir, Blessed by the Best, which chronicled his life through the lens of faith, pain, and triumph. Spiritually grounded and emotionally evolved, Dawkins credits his faith as the key to his endurance. Every morning begins with prayer, journaling, and devotion. He speaks frequently at churches and conferences, blending biblical wisdom with lived experience. Whether talking about forgiveness, discipline, or emotional freedom, his words carry weight because they come from someone who has walked through the fire. At home, Dawkins is a devoted husband to Connie and a loving father to their 4 children. His family has been his constant through the highs of NFL glory and the lows of personal struggle. They live quietly in Florida, though he maintains close ties to Philadelphia, often appearing at team events, mentoring current Eagles players, and working as a senior advisor. In 2024, Dawkins expanded his influence with the launch of Weapon X Media, a digital initiative aimed at empowering athletes and youth through original content on mental wellness, leadership, and sports culture. Within a year, the platform had amassed more than 700,000 followers across social media. Its blend of inspiration, faith, and straight talk has made it a vital voice for young people navigating pressure-filled environments. Financially, Dawkins has done well. With a net worth estimated at around $18 million, he's used his resources to reinvest in communities, build his foundation, and develop future leaders. But more than material success, it's purpose that drives him. "My calling is bigger than football," he often says. "Football gave me a platform. Now I use it to heal, uplift, and lead." A statue of Brian Dawkins now stands outside Lincoln Financial Field in his signature stance, arms stretched wide, eyes blazing, ready to conquer. It's a fitting tribute to a man who never let fear or failure define him. For Eagles fans, he will forever be the embodiment of their spirit. For the world, he stands as proof that courage is not the absence of pain, but the will to rise through it. Brian Dawkins' life teaches us that vulnerability is strength, faith is armor, and purpose is the ultimate power. He didn't just protect end zones, he now protects souls. In an age of superficial fame, his authenticity cuts through like one of his signature hits. From Jacksonville's soil to football's summit, Weapon X remains active, not on the field, but in hearts, classrooms, and communities. His is the legacy of a warrior transformed, a man who turned his pain into a platform, and who continues to lead with fire, faith, and love. Thank you for walking this path through the life of Brian Dawkins. His story reminds us, you can be powerful and tender, fierce and faithful, and you can always rise, no matter how deep the fall.